All right, so this is another episode of Weightlifting Academy. I am Nick Horton, otherwise known as the Iron Samurai. And this is a special episode because it is an interview episode. We used to do a whole bunch of interviews, then we stopped for a while, and we're bringing them back. So that's what we're doing. And again, since this is an episode of Weightlifting Academy, that means it's time for you to go check out weightliftingacademy.com and get your free copy of the 7 Deadly Sins of Weightlifting, which again I said was free at weightliftingacademy.com. So, you, my friend Dave Hall, are named Dave Hall, but what else do we know about you? Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the entire world who you are?
Hey everybody, it's Dave Hall. I run a website called Agogi Fitness Systems at agogifit.com. I've also got a project called Mental Meatheads. I run a gym here in Birmingham, Alabama, and just looking to bring enlightened fitness to the masses. That's my mission. That's my passion.
You do both on and offline stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I would like to dive into both of those maybe separately and then kind of see how they link up and all that. Why don't we start with the offline stuff, and you tell me like how you got into the game and some of your history and all that stuff, and how it is you went from being where you were to where you are.
Okay. All right. So, by the time I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I was pretty screwed up. I was pretty lost. By that point, by the time I was in my early 30s, I already had my 3 daughters. I also had a pretty heavy pot habit and a job that I just couldn't figure out what the hell I was supposed to be doing.
Right.
I would call myself a functioning addict. I was able to pay my bills.
Right.
I was able to put food on the table, but I wasn't good for much anything else. And sometimes when I first started talking about this sort of thing, it was kind of embarrassing to say, dude, man, I was addicted to weed, man. I was a pothead. And you're like,
Yeah.
You were addicted to weed? I mean, come on, it's weed, right? But I got pretty heavy into it. I was burning through about an ounce a week, and so I was having to deal on the side in order to support my habit because I just financially couldn't afford it. And we're starting to make some really stupid decisions. Had a couple of close brushes with the law,
Right.
and it just wasn't working well for me. At the same time, I was working a job that I couldn't stand. I'm a smart guy, and so I could figure stuff out and get by, but it was just sucking my soul dry. A coworker had recommended that he was working at a gym as a personal trainer, and he's like, "Dude, you want to check this out? It's easy. You make good money. Blah blah blah." So I was doing martial arts pretty heavy at the time, and I thought that this would be, maybe it would be an interesting segue for me. And so I went and I took a weekend and plopped down $500 for an AFA certification, and hallelujah, I'm a personal trainer now. So that's literally how it started. I started teaching Tai Chi classes at a local community center, and they had a gym there, and I started bringing clients in there, and I started training clients there.
Yeah.
And stuff started clicking. Stuff started happening. I worked at that community center for about a year, and then found the gym where I'm at now. And that's where things really started rolling and changing for me.
Okay.
When I first interviewed at that gym, the guy who owns the gym, he asked me if I could pass a drug test. And probably for the first time in my life, I told the truth, and I said, "No, I don't think I can." And he said, "Well, why not?" I was like, "Well, I smoke weed." And he was like, "Aren't you a little old for that?" And so that kind of started that process in my mind. He asked me if I could pass a test with notice. He's like, "Dude, if I give you notice," and I wasn't, honestly, in my mind, I wasn't sure that I could, but I was like, "Yeah, I can do that."
Yeah.
Started training up there. Started working out much more religiously, and things just started shifting for me. I, the short version is that I was on vacation over the Christmas holiday with my wife down at the beach, and I ran out. And when you're out of town and you got to have it and you ran out, it's pretty risky to try to resupply. So you just kind of tough it out.
Right. You deal with it.
And, so I had a couple of days to sort of dry up and thought, well, all right, let's see where this goes. I read a book by James Frey called.
Now I sound like I'm smoking weed. It also looks like I'm smoking weed. I want to make it very clear.
Yeah,
That, I can't figure out how to fix my camera. But I promise I am not. I didn't inhale at the very least. What's going on right here? No inhaling.
I read this book by James Frey called A Million Little Pieces. It was like fucking Oprah's bestseller or something like that. He ended up getting in a lot of trouble for it, but the book for me really held up a mirror to my face and made me realize just how much of a junkie I had become. And so fitness became my salvation out of that, and so personal training became, my own personal reboot. It was a way for me to turn myself around.
Right.
And so my business is very much driven towards, giving people the opportunity for change. Physical change is great, but there's so much more, that you can learn about yourself as a human being in the gym. Given my martial arts background, I really view my gym as a dojo, and it's a place where people can learn things about themselves. And so, in that sense, that's why I do it. That's what my thing is about. It's about personal transformation. It's about personal empowerment.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's not necessarily pretty. Sometimes people come in there and they've got some serious shit that they got to work through, and I'm cool with that. I'm comfortable with. I've had clients who break down and cry in the middle of a workout, and that's cool. I'll sit there and hang with them, and we'll figure it out. So that's sort of what I'm about, and my background and how I got to be where I am.
That's really cool. I mean, you and I definitely have a real similar background in that respect. I mean, I went through some pretty heavy drug periods in my life when I was young. Weed was on the light side for me. I just wrote a big old article for, I guess an op-ed piece. Sometimes I don't know the distinction. Everything feels like an op-ed piece to me, but for breakingmuscle.com this last month, and I delved into that a little bit about my own path. I've talked about it sometimes online before, but I very much relate to that. I also did a lot of martial arts when I was growing up, so that combination of like having to go through some major change in your life in order to get to where you want to go and not be where you were.
Yeah.
That's something a lot of people can relate to, whether maybe it's a drugs thing, maybe it's just an alcohol thing, maybe it's just this other personality thing. Maybe it's you're really overweight or whatever it is. I think honestly, sometimes it's really nice when you're being coached by somebody, that somebody has gone through some shit. And gotten to somewhere else because they can relate to you.
Yeah.
And I think people who've never had to do that have a real hard time understanding what that means psychologically.
Yeah, I think we talked about this before. Is that I think those coaches and trainers who've had it really easy, who've never had to fight a weight issue, who are athletically gifted, or just had a really easy time of it, don't necessarily make the best trainers because they just can't relate to their clients.
Right.
And your client really needs, that sense of relation. The whole reason that they're suffering and in the place that they're in right now is because they can't relate or they don't feel related to, and they're trying to avoid all that unhappiness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that, to me, it seems like for a lot of adults, that's kind of the essence of what it is that this is all about. Like I'm totally with you, bro. For me, the idea is provide a place for change for people, whatever that change is. But obviously, it's going to be change. I mean, that's what a gym is, even if it's nothing more than a physical change. But it's rarely just a physical change, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like we all know, like something starts happening to people. You
Yeah.
know, they really start getting into this kind of stuff. You know, strength training and all of that, and a pretty significant psychological shift starts to happen. Uh, Hopefully for the better.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I think that as we start to improve certain aspects of our lives, and the physical is the easiest to work on.
Yeah.
You can just jump in and start doing stuff, and it bleeds over into those other areas. I mean, so I have, housewives who've never deadlifted before, and suddenly just having had that experience, being able to pull their body weight for the first time, and that just bleeds over into some other hardship that they've got to deal with, and they're like,
right.
"Fuck this! I pulled my body weight before. This is nothing."
Yeah.
Or at least knowing that they have the strength and that capacity within themselves.
Yeah.
That's a powerful thing.
Yeah, I think that's a greatly underestimated thing among people who've always been athletic. You know, if you've always been athletic, and that's one area where I can't relate because it is true. I've always been pretty naturally athletic, so my whole life, that side of my life wasn't a big deal. Like uh, I didn't always know which sports where I was going to be good at or something, but that's different. I was always good at something physical. So that was never something I would have been able to understand. And I think had I not gone through these other things in my life, I'd probably be a much worse coach than I am now because of that. Like it's hard to relate to somebody who does not have the same level of just sort of natural ability if that's all you've ever been around. It's particularly bad if you've only ever been around a lot of athletes. Like there's a whole group of coaches out there, and I'm not saying there's anything bad about this necessarily, but who only coach people who are who are pretty decently talented, athletes, and that means they have no way of understanding, really, or no experience base in dealing with, real people. not that you're not real if you have physical talent.
I think that's a coach who knows his niche, though. There are certain people out there who just know that they just can't relate to, the average person, and it's better off for them to go, you know what, I can't coach normal adults, or I can't coach kids, or and there are people out there who are not interested in coaching athletes. They actually really want to. So I think the key is to find where your strength is, where your passion is, and totally dive in and follow that.
Yeah,
whatever that is. When we get started, I started late into this game. Most of the people that I talk to and relate with, who are anywhere close to my age, have been doing this 15, 20 years. I didn't start, I didn't stop being that stoner pothead until I was in my middle 30s. I'm 41 now, so I've got 7, 8 years, being a trainer, and before that, I was I was a bong mechanic, man. That was my my expertise. Was how can I get high? So
you were helping all kinds of people, man.
Oh, totally. I've always been a giver, man. I've been a popular guy.
You're a puff giver.
That's right, man. People coming through the house all the time, man.
Yeah.
All hours of the night.
Running a hostel, man.
That's right, man. Just giving love to my people. That's all.
That's right. So that takes us up to your current status, basically, of a guy who runs a club. Why don't you tell us something more about your club itself, like the gym, like what's going on there? What kind of stuff do you specialize in? You kind of gave us some idea, but
so I have kind of a unique position in that I'm really lucky. I'm still at the gym that I started personal training at 8 or 9 years ago. What happened was there was a warehouse space in the back that a jiu-jitsu club was occupying. Um, I went up to New Jersey about 2 or 3 years in and worked with Zach Evanish, got
Okay.
the underground strength certification level 1, and came back. And I was like, dude, I know what I want to do, which was totally not feasible in this personal training space, which was full of hammer strength equipment and cable crosses and
Yeah, you're not gonna be flipping tires through there, right?
what's that?
No flipping of tires through that gym.
Yeah, no flipping the tires. Man, you kidding? Nah. The spandex housewives just they couldn't handle that. But the warehouse space in the back came open, and there's about
Okay.
1,500 square feet back there. And when that opened up, man, I just jumped all over it.
That's a big space, actually.
Yeah, it's a good size space for me. I can run groups back there. Over the last 5 or 6 years, I keep adding stuff. I'm real. I don't know whether I'm good or bad about making my own shit. I know welders in the area, and so I've got homemade farmers handles, homemade fat bar,
That's awesome.
2 power racks. A year ago, I had how I don't even know what's called, functional cages with the pull-up bars and the
Oh
monkey
yeah.
bars are popular right now. Well, I wanted something like that, but I didn't want to take up floor space, so I inverted it. I got a 14-foot ceiling, and I hung it from the ceilings. So I've got
That's
a monkey
awesome.
bar. Yeah, I got a monkey bar run, and I can hang all sorts of equipment and people off of it. And
Leave them there if they're doing something bad.
that's right. Just hang them up there and just leave them there. I need to work on my truck and pull the truck in there and just hoist the engine out.
That's awesome.
So, but it's a good space. I got a great crew of people. I'm always looking to try to build that community. Um, I'm in a funny position. Birmingham is a real. I won't say superficial. I'll say aesthetically oriented community, and so Flash really goes over big. So I tend to gravitate.
You're in the Beverly Hills of the South right now.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
And so
People pretty.
I'm trying to draw in the outliers, the fringe people who don't really fit in anywhere else, and provide a home for them. And so, in that sense, that's been really successful, and it's a lot more fun for
Yeah.
me. I get to work with people that I can relate to, rather than, dude. First couple of years, I was a total whore, man. I have a body pump certification. All right,
Ooh,
that's
nice.
yeah.
Are you also Taibo certified?
Sweet. Hey, did you see Elliot on Facebook posted a picture? He ran into Billy Blanks in St. Pete. There's a picture of him and Billy.
Oh no, I didn't see that. That's awesome. Yeah, I ran into a guy. So here in Nashville, I was I don't know where it was, one of the local breweries or something or bars, and I was talking to this dude from Sweden, I guess, and he was talking. We were just talking about just general fitness stuff a little bit because he found out what I do, and then he just kind of jumped into Taibo, and he was like, "Man, I've been doing Taibo since the beginning." He's hardcore into Taibo, right? And he says, like, the truth is that Taibo is still really popular where I come from. He says, like, a bunch of trainers there, and it's like a whole community. But he said the weird thing is that they're not getting a lot of new people, and they're actually cool with that. They're just trying to like keep the people they have and really like give them everything they need. But it's pretty fascinating to me somehow how that happens. Sometimes these weird fitness trends, like
Wow.
you get this huge rise of a certain kind of weird thing. I'm not saying Taibo is weird if you're really a Taibo, but don't turn that dial. But it comes up and then it kind of levels off and then it kind of goes down for a while. Most of the time with these very very niche trends, usually they're wrapped up around an individual. The way the Taibo is. I find that kind of interesting. But I totally get that, man. I've been doing personal training since I was 18 years old, so kind of off and on throughout the years. So I've been through a lot of weird trends, and I hoard myself out to anybody, and I still do that. I have no problem with that. If you are willing to pay me, one, and two, you're willing to do what I say, then I'll work with you. I don't care what your goals are, you know. So in a sense, I mean, anybody who's a business person who has those basic rules is, kind of like whoring yourself out, right? Whores are business people too.
That's right. Foundation of our economy.
Nothing wrong with that. Like, yeah. So you're saying like the bulk of your clients there, you're saying are the outliers in this world that's kind of like a Beverly Hills of your area.
Yeah. Pure Bar is real popular. You guys got a Pure Bar up in Asheville?
I wouldn't.
What's that?
Maybe. I'm still like kind of figuring things out. I'm in that phase, like I only know bits and pieces about the town so far. I mean, I haven't been here that long, so I'm still trying to figure it out. But maybe we do. If you are from Asheville or have been through Asheville and you know the answer to this, please leave it in the comment section.
So Pure Bar is like a combination of ballet, Pilates, and I don't know what else. But it's gotten really popular. We actually have a CrossFit spinoff here in Birmingham that has started franchising itself, and they're really popular. They've got about 5 or 6 boxes just in Birmingham alone.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So they got a big budget. They got billboards up and full-page magazine ads, and so you just don't go head to head with a giant like that. You just sort of kind of skirt the edges, and so I find the people who are dissatisfied with that sort of thing, they went in, they tried the Kool-Aid, it was too sweet or it was bitter or whatever, and provide a home for them. I'm like, hey, come over here, we're going to get something similar but better.
Yeah.
And work from that. So yeah, it's fun. I mean, as long as it's fun, I'm going to continue to do it.
Right.
It makes me happy.
So I want to get back to that. I mean, to what we're talking about a little bit. We're getting into a little bit about the business side of what you do in a bit. First, I want to talk about your online side, like maybe the coaching stuff and all that stuff, what you do, and sort of you have an interview series and you got other kind of stuff. Like what all the stuff that you do there, and then maybe kind of bring it back around and we'll talk a little bit about, because there's a lot of people in the audience who are coaches in one capacity or another, many of whom run their own gyms also. So I think it'll be very interesting to talk about like what you do, like you said, you don't go head to head with these big boys, but then what do you do, right?
Yeah.
So, because that's always a big concern. How do you get more people in the door? How do you help more people? All that stuff. But first, let's go. Tell me what's going on the online side of what it is that you do. What is it that you do and all that?
So the online side of what I'm doing is that's really new for me. It's only something that I've been sort of playing in for the last year or two. The interview series, Mental Meatheads, I started that back last fall. And really, that's just a way for me to spread the love and the knowledge of people who I look to and people that I like. If I find somebody who's doing something interesting out in the community, I think it's my job to help promote that and get other people to see what else is out there. Like you said, with the whole, like I would go mad if I was one of those. And there's nothing wrong with Billy Blanks and Tybo, but if I started Tybo and I was still doing Tybo 10 years later, I would be insane, right? Yeah. I mean, I should be like master Tybo. I should be like levitating at the head of the class because I transcended Tybo or whatever, right? I'm constantly needing to change. I don't know whether that's my ADD or what, but I mean, I need new information, and so. Part of it's selfish. Part of it is just like, hey, how can I, get to know these other people and, sponge off of them and learn new stuff.
Yeah.
The other side of Mental Meatheads is is trying to take this actually on the road. and hosting or promoting workshops both in my gym and throughout the country. One of the things that I learned from Zach and what they're doing up in the Northeast is that there's this community of gyms up there, um, and they're all helping each other out, and they're all there's not maybe because of the population is so dense up there, they don't feel threatened in terms of having to fight over available resources, uh, but they're all real inclusive, both with knowledge and information, and just very supportive of each other up there. Nothing like that exists down in the southeast, and so I'd like to see something like that happen down here.
Right.
And I think one of the good ways to do that is to bring down, talent. So back in January, I had at the time who I considered to be my four big mentors come down to my gym for a 2-day seminar. We're going to do it again in September. I'm bringing 3 people to a gym in Indianapolis. We're actually going to do this out on the road. My long-term goal is to have 2 a year, one somewhere out on the road and one in Birmingham.
Awesome.
Birmingham's not the easiest city to travel to. So.
Yeah, that makes things a little harder. I get that. Yeah.
But I'd also like to try to, reach out to the other gyms within the Birmingham area. I say that there's a big CrossFit gym or a CrossFit style gym in the area that I can't compete head to head with, but I don't need to. And so I don't really feel, I don't see any problem with bringing their coaches over to my gym to see what I'm doing or vice versa. I just see that the whole community gets built up that way.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that, man. We do kind of the similar stuff, and we're always. It is true, like if you're just in the world of CrossFit, they tend to often have more of a community with one another.
Yeah.
Different local gyms will all kind of do things together. They'll do either competitions or community wads or whatever. What are different things they do, but that's like exclusively within the world of CrossFit. So if you're like a gym like yours or mine or a lot of the others that are not actually CrossFit gyms, then it's not necessarily the same thing for us. We don't have a community of those kind of gyms. Not in any kind of real way. In part because there's probably not that many of us. And there's CrossFits everywhere. They're like Starbucks. They just keep popping up. But we do the same thing. We're always trying to go out there and build relationships with CrossFit clubs and CrossFit-like clubs, as you said, partly because they're the places that have barbells and rubber mats.
It makes sense because a large part of what they do is right within your wheelhouse, right? And the better the weight lift, the better they are. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I'm completely with you on this community. I think that there's this, in business, there's that idea that like you've got 2 different possible mindsets. One of which is like the scarcity mindset, where it's like a zero-sum game and everybody's fighting over like 5 pieces of candy on the table, and somebody can get all 5 and everybody else is going to starve. And then there's that other idea where it's more like you got a giant ocean out there. We're all stuck on this raft, and we each have a cup. I can take as much water as I want out of the ocean. It's not gonna affect you at all.
Yep.
And honestly, that's the way I tend to look at it. Like I could care less what other people are doing. In that sense, I care maybe in a more community sort of way, or just out of interest. But I don't care in that like I need to stomp this dude in order to make sure that he don't take my clients.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's more than enough people to go around usually in most of these niches, unless you're in Taibo. And not only that, but most people, they're often looking for multiple things. So like we've never had a problem with CrossFit because what we do definitely complements CrossFit, and so we can just go in there and share the wealth, and everybody does better. And I think that way of thinking about doing stuff tends to result in overall want better products and services, etc., in whatever business you're in, because you're more focused on just what you can do and doing your thing better
Yeah.
than you are on like what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
But also it does increase a better sense of community around you because you're not trying to constantly compete with people that you don't even actually have to compete with, and that's better for the clients.
Absolutely. And I think that's I thought what we were supposed to be working towards, right?
Yeah.
I tell my clients that if they want to go try somebody else out, they want to try somebody else's system out, go ahead. That's fine. I got no problem with that. Be safe, be sensible, and if you decide you want to come back, I'm here.
Right.
Otherwise, hopefully I've given you something that is going to make you better on whatever your particular journey is.
Yeah.
And there's always room for somebody else to come in. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and speaking of scarcity, uh, or the lack thereof. What are some of the if you were going to talk to somebody who was in a similar boat as you, but maybe a few years ago, and maybe you weren't quite as established as you are now, and you're going to give them advice about how to start up something similar to what you got going on, a club that does whatever it is they want to do. What would be some of the big strategies related to marketing and or just general business stuff that you found to be actually helpful rather than a lot of the stuff that gets thrown around that turns out not to be particularly helpful? Like everybody's putting flyers on, people's cars.
Yeah.
That never works. Don't do that. It just annoys people, man.
Well, generally, I have found every dollar that I ever spent on advertising, I just, blew it away. That's just, it's easy to think that's the way you need to go. In my experience, it's not been very beneficial for me.
Right.
Somebody else with a better targeted audience might do better, but for me, that just didn't work. But I think the central most important thing is to figure out who you are. Figure out who you are and figure out what it is that gets you excited. Whatever your passion is, whatever, if since we're talking fitness, whatever really excites you about being in the gym, and training and sharing that with other people, that's what you do.
Yeah.
I hated body pump. It was miserable. I did it because I had 3 kids and a wife, and I was freaked out on how I was going to put food on the table and stay in the gym. And the place that I was working said, "Hey, we're doing this certification. We think you should do this." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do this." And I got certified, and I taught 2 classes, and I was like, "This is bullshit. I'm out of here. I can't do this."
Yeah.
For me, that was a really good, stepping stone in figuring out what I wanted to do. So you are going to spend some time screwing around and finding stuff that you're like, okay, this is awful. I don't want to do this. But always go back to, what excites you.
Right.
Because that translates to other people. People want to be around that. People who share your passion will be drawn to you in that way. If you are absolutely just starting out, take somebody on for free. I mean, get working. Do whatever you have to do to get that first client, and then really, provide a top-notch service that you can provide, and that person will start talking about you. And nothing works better, in my experience, as far as bringing in clients than word of mouth. If somebody comes in and they say, "Hey, so and so, told me to come try you out. She said, you were a great trainer." That's gold right there.
Yeah, we're absolutely in the word of mouth business. I mean, even a guy, like me or you or whoever else who has some kind of online presence, so people can Google you and find you. That's still required that they first had to even know to find you, or whatever else, or know enough about what it is that you do to be Googling around in your area and realize like this is the person to see you or whatever. that turns out to be much less of a driver of business in almost every case than just somebody in the gym talking to somebody else outside the gym and kind of propagating that way, and then people come in, you know.
Do you guys do you reward referrals?
So we have a referral program we're about to institute now. We did not have one at all, which is not good. I used to have one back when I was in Portland, and that was so I'm basically just taking that one wholesale and bringing it to this gym.
I think that's a real powerful tool to leverage your people like that and to reward them if they bring, you know. I think you have to figure out, you know, within your own structure, you know, what you can afford and what's going to be. But for me, you know, everybody has a choice. You know, if you bring in somebody who signs up for a month with me, I'll either send you a package of steaks from Omaha Steaks, or you can get an hour's massage. And
That's pretty awesome. You can get steak. I like this. This is good.
You know, and so that's worked pretty well for me. You know, people get excited about that.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a good idea, man. Like give people food. This is always good.
Dude, yeah, food's great. See, again, I learned from the front end of our gym where the personal training side is, you know, you've got these rich housewives and it's somebody's birthday and they feel like they got to bring cupcakes in. And when I worked over on that front side, you know, I was like, you know, I mean, wouldn't birthday steaks be better than birthday cake? We are a gym, you know. I mean, I'm just saying, you know. So, yeah, I reward with steak. I think that's a much more powerful motivator than.
It is.
For me, it is anyway. You know, I'd much rather have a ribeye than a cupcake.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Tamara and I would probably be a little more likely to reward people with alcohol. Maybe donuts.
If it works. If it works.
Yeah. See, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, so I you know, I'm a recent guy here to the south, and so that means I've been trying out lots of southern things. One of which is sweet tea, and I've been trying to up my tolerance. I have never drank sweet tea.
That is the crack of the South, man. Watch out.
Yeah. So at first I was just like, tiny bit of sweet tea and like a whole big thing of regular tea. And then it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I was like, screw it. I'm going to go even farther. And I'm going to take sweet tea and then put powdered Gatorade in it. And that's how I'm going to work out. So I've been lifting. But
you could totally market that, man. That could be the new Red Bull.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
There's your fortune right there.
I know. And, you know, it's basically like diabetes in a cup. That is. Instant diabetes. Going to get you. And but I thought maybe that's good, right? It's like nutritional resistance training. Like I'm getting my body to fight against something and get stronger. Probably doesn't work that way, but that's what I'm telling myself. Yeah, I think I'm now becoming an addict. Yeah, I'm gonna get fat. That's what's gonna happen. So all right, that's cool, man. So okay. Yeah, both the online, offline stuff, on and offline stuff. I can speak, I promise. And you definitely have an interesting background, I think, which is an important thing for a lot of people because that means you can really relate to what it means to make a big change in your life and actually see the results of that change, you know, and live the results of that change and keep it going. You know,
yeah.
A lot of people who they make a change and maybe it's a big change and then it goes right back. And I think there's something powerful about seeing the examples of people who make a big change in their life, they maintain that change and then turn around and help others do the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's a real good thing. So I would like to give you the opportunity now to tell people a little bit about where they can find you, what basically you got for them, and all of that. So, like, where would they go right now if they're gonna hop on the internet?
So, if the best place to start looking for me and to find me is on my website at agogifit.com. That's AGOGEFIT.com. Mental Meatheads is there, and there's information about my gym, my blog, and my newsletter. You can sign up for a newsletter there. I just recently started posting the audio for the interviews on SoundCloud. So I'm on SoundCloud. You can find me there, Mental Meatheads. And then I got a YouTube channel, so you can find me there as well. And,
nice.
You'll get to see all of my fledgling attempts at mastering the Olympic lifts and all that.
Yeah, full disclosure, Dave now he's joined our mastermind group, which is, if you don't know what that is, that's our small group Olympic lifting coaching site, basically, or group. And it's pretty cool. So this is what I didn't realize when we had talked previously. I only saw your head.
Yeah.
So, I thought you were about this tall. I didn't think you had feet or anything.
I'm just a head,
Yeah. It turns out he's a whole-size human. He's also a really buff dude. Like, go check out his YouTube channel, and he's jacked.
I'm not tiny. Let's put it that way.
Some big old guns on you, man. So yeah, that's fun. That's fun stuff. He's learning the Olympic list. This is good. And you've been actually practicing the Olympic list for a little while, though.
Yes, I've been practicing, but coming out of a powerlifter / strongman background, it's more like watching that gorilla in the old Samsonite commercial.
Yes, I totally get that, because that's where I was too. I mean, when I first started, I was a powerlifter first, and so we've been working on his rack, on his clean, and I could not rack a clean for an entire month when I first started Olympic lifting, because I was just like this the whole time. I couldn't get my wrist back more than like half an inch. And that's pretty common. If you come in from powerlifting, that might be it's gonna be a little tough for a little while, but your wrists will supplize. That's a word, supplize.
Supplize.
Yeah, supplize, baby.
And throw props at you. Just the advice that you guys have given me just in the first couple of weeks, man, has been, the mastermind group is totally worth your dollars. Go for it. Good stuff.
I appreciate that. So, all right, Dave Hall of Goji Fitness, gojifit.com. Check it out, Mental Meatheads. He's got a crap ton of interviews up there, by the way. I mean, there's a lot of interviews, really cool people. Give me just a short list quick of like some of the people you've interviewed already.
Zach Evanesh, Chip Conrad, Jed Johnson, Elliot Hulse, Christopher Lopez. I've interviewed several of the people that work with Chip up at Body Tribe.
Yeah.
Tamara, yourself. Yeah. It's a fast growing group, and I'm really excited to be able to present it. It's fun.
Pretty awesome. So go check that out. I'll have all the links set up on the site, the weightliftingacademy.com site. So you can go to weightliftingacademy.com, and I'll be posting all of his links there, so you can go through, check everything out yourself. And definitely watch those interviews, man. There's a ton of them, and there's a lot of good information there. He's a good interviewer, much better than me. Since apparently he's not like, hanging out next to a giant cactus, smoking weed or something.
I'm jealous of that cactus. I want that cactus, man.
Yeah, this cactus is awesome. That has nothing to do with me, that's Tamara. But I approve. It's a real cactus. It's not. All right. That concludes this interview with Dave Hall here at weightliftingacademy.com. Again, go to weightliftingacademy.com, get your free copy of the 7 Deadly Sins of Olympic Weightlifting, yours for free. And I'll have all the links to check out all there is for you to check out from Dave Hall and a Goji Fitness. All right, the Iron Samurai out.